Hello, and welcome to Depth Perception. We discuss movies and dive into how films direct the way we experience them. We create a perception of sound.
Sound?
A perception of sight. With a dimension of mind. Oh. We move into a land of both shadow and substance, of themes and ideas. I am Mr. Vozly.
Me, I'm Kmax.
So our previous chapter on grief included 2 movie choices that showcase the different ways that grief can overtake someone. One example was a deep pit of sorrow that someone couldn't escape. And the other example was someone who grew a distorted stance on acceptance and belonging. It was a couple of cases of don't do what Donnie Don't does for any deep Simpsons fans out there. Well,
Donnie Don't.
Well, now we have the opposite. We've got a case of do what Del does. An example of someone trying to grasp onto the right resources after experiencing something traumatic. Episode 3.7 is brought to you by Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, the 1987 holiday classic starring Steve Martin and John Candy. Here are our talking points for this episode. Initial reactions and favorite scenes. Where and how do we see isolation? How do we personally connect with Neal? How do we personally connect with Del? How does this movie relate to our discussion on grief? What makes this movie so heartwarming? Or does it?
Or is it?
And this leads us right into our last question. What is our theme?
Hey.
All right, Kmax. Tell me about your history with this movie, initial reactions, favorite scenes.
I can't remember not liking this movie. I've watched it. So many movies that we watch on this pod are movies that I wouldn't otherwise choose. This is
very challenging playlist.
This is one that I would choose and have chosen many times. It's funny how I didn't realize it was a Thanksgiving classic. You know, that so many people, it's synonymous with Thanksgiving. And I guess, okay. And that's cool. And I remember Doc Tonema was like very much, he goes, oh yeah, I got to watch it every Thanksgiving I got to. And I'm thinking, why? And then I'm like, oh, he's trying to get home for Thanksgiving. and also for some of the themes that we'll probably talk about, it probably fits just nicely. And as a Thanksgiving, take account of what you have, your blessings movie. Watched it, gosh, I think when it first came out. And I've watched it, I can't say every year at Thanksgiving time, but at least a dozen times since I first watched it. And the last time was with you here Saturday. We watched it, and it's funny, you pick up stuff along the way. I didn't realize how, I won't get into favorite scenes, it certainly isn't, but how it earned its rating from that one scene, man. I was like, whoa.
I think I told you, like leading up to that, I'm like, why is this R? Are we going to see some breasts or something soon? And then
he gets to the car rental. He gets to the car rental desk, and it's just like, okay. It's just so uncomfortable. Yeah. It is uncomfortable. I mean, that's my experience with it. I liked it. There's many scenes that stand out to me. I love movies that put me on the floor, I call it. And anybody that knows me knows a good funny movie will either make me throw up. That sounds awful, but it will. Or it'll put me on the floor. Even in a theater, I will be on the floor. And I know that's gross, but if something is earning that kind of laughter, then by golly, I'll be on the floor. Yeah, liked it. Like it.
All right. So, for how classic this movie is and how much I watch holiday movies, I actually did not see this movie until about 2 years ago, I believe.
Holy smokes.
And it's got a lot of green flags for me, too, but I guess I just never grew up with it.
Okay.
Like John Candy, Steve Martin, Thanksgiving, comedy. Should have been seen a long time ago. Anyway, so I see it a couple years ago, Really enjoy it. And it's one of those movies that is referenced a ton in pop culture. Mm-hmm. And so like my brain's like connecting things, as I'm seeing it. So I know my my uncle always recites the scene with the, those aren't pillows.
That's one that I was thinking about right away.
And there's a Family Guy reference in there. I'm assuming they reference it a lot, but I remember Peter recites John Candy's "I'm an easy target" speech.
Yeah,
I'm like, oh, there it is. That's
yeah. Oh, that's true.
Favorite scenes. One of my favorite scenes is actually a deleted scene that I saw on social media that finally convinced me to actually sit down and watch the movie.
No way.
So the deleted scene, and it's pretty easy to find, but it would be towards the beginning when they're at the airport, and Steve Martin's sitting down across from John Candy. He's filling out a crossword, and John Candy he's smoking while he's eating a hoagie, and he's taking a bite, and as he's opening his mouth, like smoke is like leaking out of his mouth as he's eating. And
who hasn't been there?
He drops a crumb on his shirt. And he goes through this little bit where he tries to flick it off his shirt into the trash can like 5 yards away. And so just his how he delivers this scene, and then Steve Martin, as he's filling out his crossword, he's kind of like, oh, and the word that he fills out to fit the space is grotesque.
Oh my
as he's
goodness.
watching John Candy. So that scene, I encourage anyone that's seen this movie to look that deleted scene up, because of that. That's what got me hooked.
What makes you wonder?
This.
You wonder if that was written by Hughes. I wonder if, what I mean? I always wonder whenever there's a deleted scene, someone who's the writer and director, did he pull it because it didn't push the story forward? Or
right.
It's like, what was your vision here? Why would you take that out?
I'm wondering if it would have made Candy's character like too alienated from the audience to connect with him. Like, oh yeah, this guy is grotesque.
Yeah. Maybe. And less of a heart thing. Sever some heartstrings right there instead of building them.
But after watching the actual movie, I would say my favorite scene is the dinner scene when Neal tells Del, like, okay, we should split up. We're going to accomplish more if we part ways here.
Yeah.
And the way that Candy receives that is, after what's going on in Del's life, is kind of like he's so hurt by that gesture of, I don't want to. To him, it's I don't want to be there for you. I don't want to be here. So like the amount of emotion that Candy's character feels in that moment right there. When you watch it the first time, you don't know what's going on with Del.
Yeah,
it's kind of like, oh. Okay, you're being a little dramatic.
Yeah,
here.
but it's so funny you mention that, because I remember watching it. I don't even think it was the first time, so I knew what was happening with Del, and I still felt watching it. Not this last time, but a couple times at least, saying, "Come on, man, just stop being so dramatic." But then thinking, "Oh no, I get why he's so hurt," and he plays it really well, doesn't he?
Unfortunately, it feels like it's from experience for John Candy.
I know. Like he just gives you nope, we're good, nope. And I feel like I got some of that. Like when I get a little indignant like that, instead of just saying, "Oh man, that hurts," I will say, "Nope, we're good."
Yep. Business. Yeah. Yep. Okay. Here's your cut.
There it is. You made a decision here, and I'm not on your plans anymore. Fair enough. I don't want to be where I'm not wanted.
That's how you see me, I guess. Well, okay. All right, I'll see you later.
Man, I hate that I relate so much to Farley and Candy.
How about you? You got any? What kind of favorite scenes you got?
I got a few. I think that, of course, I think I told you the one where Schiffer and I always have a good laugh when you're going the wrong way. Oh, yeah. And he's like, he gets so mad at them, and he's like, "Come on, these guys see we're going the wrong way." He goes, "How do they know where we're going?" Right? That whole scene, I think, is hilarious. And then I told you when he's when he goes, "They must be drinking," and he's like, "Oh yeah, okay," and he does like he's pantomiming like he's drinking with his thumb, and then he's then when they finally end up going between the two semis, and he looks over at him. he looks at him and they look at each other like they're two skulls, like they're like getting electrocuted, like two skulls looking at each other screaming. And then he looks over again. Neal looks over at Del, and he's the devil.
Yeah.
Just randomly, he's like, wow. Yeah. I just thought the slapstick of that just gets me every time. I mean, that's the one that'll put me to the floor like that. I just whenever I see it, and I know it's coming. It's like almost when at the end of when he screams the high pitched scream in Home Alone 2, the high pitched scream. It gets me every time. I know the birds are gonna, the seeds are gonna be on him. I know the camera's gonna pan on him and he's gonna scream. But it puts me on the floor every time. It's just the best. That scene.
I just had the craziest feeling of deja vu, by the way.
Really?
I feel like we recorded this before where you asked me, or you were trying to find out the characters of that specific scene.
Oh, really?
Well, anyway.
It might be just that I have a very small schema of film, so I probably use the exact same reference at some point. So I got another one. I thought when the melted steering wheel, when the officer asks them, I just think it's hilarious. The officer asks, I'm always going to come back to my wheelhouse of humor. I love the humor, and I love when you got John Candy. I think and Steve Martin, two of my favorite kinds of humor. When he's like, "Do you think this vehicle is safe to drive, sir?" And John Candy's like, with the full sincerity, "Yeah, I do.
Yep.
I do.
Yep, I really do."
She's not much to look at. She's obviously not much to look at.
She gets where you need to go.
He asks him about the speed. He goes, "Well, you see here, as I told you." And then he goes, "You're doing 70." He goes, "Yeah, I got to defer to you again because our speedometer is melted, and you have equipment." I mean, I just think that a police officer hearing that could either take it one or two ways. Like, this guy's adorable and he's being so honest right now, or he's being a real smart A. You know?
Yeah.
Those two scenes, and then obviously the one that stayed with me a lot was the you got the two soft pillows, right?
Yeah.
That one, and the one that struck me though was memorable and not in a good way was the car rental counter with just so much profanity, man.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, that was definitely a memorable scene though. And Steve Martin, I think, is great. I think he plays obviously the same role in many things. He's the Samuel Jackson of the white middle-aged dad. You know what I mean? He is the awkward, he plays that role well.
Yeah. All right. What do you say we move into our next? Unless you got another scene. No.
I mean, there's wonderful scenes throughout. There's heartfelt, touching scenes, but I want to save some of those. You know what I mean? Save some of those scenes. What make it a great movie to me, or a memorable film and iconic, is because there's a wealth of scenes that do that.
Well, Kmax, give me another bleeping ding right bleeping now.
Well, I have to tell you, you're bleeped.
All right, we're going to talk about where do we see isolation, and told one of my uncles that we're going to watch Planes, Trains, and Automobiles for isolation. He had this puzzled look on his face, like, what? For isolation? Like, where do you see isolation in that movie? So, in my head, I'm like, I'm glad you asked.
I'm very glad.
So I think we get a few different versions of isolation here. And I think each of our main characters are experiencing isolation. And perhaps specific to our discussion last episode, we have one character actively choosing to isolate.
Yeah.
And one character seemingly, at least in my eyes, trying not to isolate, but not really having a choice in the matter.
Right. He's been isolated through no fault of his own.
Right.
And
one is even trying not to be.
That's right. And the other guy is purely his fault. Mm-hmm. He continues to be isolated.
Continues to try to isolate.
Like so many folks that we've examined in the pod over the last 3 seasons.
So we start off with Neal in the hustle and bustle of the city. And the city is shown as very cold, as in emotionally cold. A crowded area of individuals and not so much community. So it's a lot of people, but it's a lot of individual people. people fighting over taxis, focused on their own schedules. Neal keeps looking at his watch
over and over
until he has to
Yeah.
devalue it. Shades of gray and concrete during that whole opening scene there. Lack of actual warmth. It's cold, it's wet. And we briefly talked about this kind of isolation last episode. You could be in a room, or in this case, a city full of people, and not have anyone around you that cares. Mentally cut off from one another. No real support or connection. At the same time, I think we see Neal choosing to isolate, though. He doesn't open up to Del later on in the movie, or anyone else other than his family. Everything is on the surface pleasantries, thank you, hello, until he blows up from bottling everything in for too long.
And I think more evidence of that detachment that Neal has is that and we've seen this in other podcasts, in this podcast earlier episodes. It seems like to me he's trying to bridge that isolation, how he's isolated himself from his family, with that heroic move. I got to be home by Thanksgiving. This is going to... I think that I got that from the movie. It's like, if I can get there, it's all going to be okay. That's what I felt like. I feel like he's trying to do that heroic move, that heroic gesture. I'm going to be there for Thanksgiving. Almost like that typical narcissistic dad who, as long as I can post the pictures of me and the kids, then I'm there for the games. Then I'm present.
Okay.
I felt that from Neal's character.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So for Del, Del's isolation comes with a little bit more nuance. He comes across as a nuisance, an obnoxious stranger, and I know we've all met someone like that. Okay. Speaking of that, I don't know if I should tell. Personal story, I guess. I was on a train.
I was going to say, met one. I have him.
I know from experience, dude. I was on a Amtrak from, I think it was from New York City back home, and a guy sits next to me. It's a packed train, and doesn't say a single word to me the entire trip. We're about 5 hours in, and he turns to me and he says, "You said there was food on this plane?" I said, in my head, I'm responding, first of all, I haven't said a single word to you this whole trip. Second of all, we are on a train.
There's food on this plane. Oh my God.
But I put things through the filter, and what come out was, in the back they have a train car that sells food.
Thank goodness for the filters that kick in. Yeah. By the way, just a young man, word to the wise, those things slip as you get older. You're like, where were the filters there?
Anyway, that's awesome. But it's people that cause you inconvenience without even trying, right?
You can look for that to reappear in this relationship from time to time if we're ever traveling together.
But then we learn how Del has been living, and we learn a little bit about his past, and it gives us a little perspective. He carries around his wife's framed photo. He has no place that he calls home because he's lost the only person that made it so. To me, he's reaching for social connections, a friend, anyone that can reciprocate his outreach of kindness and warmth. His constant barrage of interruption into Neal's life is a persistent plea to escape his emotional isolation. I see a character trying not to be isolated, trying to grasp onto a healthy outlet. He could have held up in his previous home, because I get the sense that I don't think he's homeless per se, but he can't call anywhere home. Like maybe he has a house, but not a home. That's my thought anyway. But anyways, he could have just held up in his previous home and kind of shut himself out from the world. Instead, he's everywhere. He's talking to everyone. He knows people in whatever city because he's sold shower curtains. During that "I'm an easy target" speech, he says, "I like me. My wife likes me." So after finding out what happened to his wife, this line has new meaning. You know, you watch it the first time, you're like, okay, yeah, your wife's the only one that can tolerate you. Yeah, great, you're good with her. But when you go back and watch after knowing what happened, now that line feels like perseverance. It's knowing self-worth, and it's searching for someone to accept him for him, searching for a hand strong enough to grasp and use for support as he lifts himself back up. That hand that he grasps needs to see the power that Del brings with his values of friendship and love. Neal is only ready to be that support after he has shown how to be a good friend. To me, anyway. What are your thoughts on Del's...
It just seems like his loneliness, his isolation is just like, to me, feels like a traveling spirit. Like, he seems like he has, like, I remember you said he's got no place to call home, like, that he might, in fact, still have a home, but the person that made it home is gone. Mm-hmm. He just appears to have no foundation anymore.
Right.
You know, they say home is a person sometimes, or home is where you hang your hat, or home is where the heart is, all those things. Those are adages because they're bounded in some kind of emotional truth. There's some truth there. And this man is isolated in every sense of the word. And, you know, he's one of those crying on the inside clown. Mm-hmm. Throughout the whole movie. You don't know. I think even before I knew the sixth sense of it, you know, that his wife passed away, I feel like I could see his hurt, though, beyond just, you know, the funny guy who's offended that someone's mad that he's so outgoing and so boisterous. Mm. Great acting by John Candy, by the way, because I think in certain scenes you just see that he's carrying something. You know, and don't get me started on the metaphor of the chest that he carries. You know what I mean? Because I feel like I have a lot to say about that, but I feel like it's in one of the later bullet points.
Okay, I'm gonna write it down because I would love if you expanded on that.
Because the chest there there's just so many, there's so much depth to it, and then even Neal's role, and he helps him carry it in certain settings. And there's certain, you mentioned it was when Neal learns to be a better friend, that he can be that hand, that strong hand. And you see it. I'm not going to touch just a bit about it. That doesn't look nearly as hard to carry as it did earlier when he learned to be that good friend. The two of them are almost enjoying it they're toward the end when they're carrying that big old chest.
Don't think it wasn't on purpose though. Too that I'm making a lot of hand.
Yeah. Okay.
References. You know, talk to me.
Yeah. No, I reject it. I was telling one of our listeners that were what we watched Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, and I was telling that and that that's the pod that I was going to this evening, and the comment was, "Well, tell Mr. Vozly it's about time you guys did a movie that's fun and happy." And I said, "Wait a minute, Midsummer's not fun and happy? Wait, Talk to Me's not fun. Holy cats, we haven't done a fun and happy one in a little bit."
But it felt so good, though, didn't it?
I guess it did. I guess it did. Okay.
I knew it would be tough, by the way.
Yeah, to
start off that way. I knew it would be tough.
It was definitely tough swimming.
And kudos to anyone that stayed with.
We've had some good folks that have hung in the pocket with us. The terms that I wanted to use for Del and his isolation is Hughes does a good job of making it feel like an endless journey, like whereas Steve Martin's character is in it right now. He's in a pinch right now. Mm-hmm. We get an idea that Del's on a cycle. That's why I almost felt like it was almost like Jacob Marley carrying the chains for eternity. Mm. I had that feel about him. I don't know what was in there, all that I'm reading into it, but he felt like he had no end in sight. Like he was just going on a cycle. Whereas Steve Martin's character was very much, Neal, was very much, I just got to get home.
Yeah.
Everything's going to be okay.
I'll expand on this a little bit later of these same feelings, but it was kind of like Neal's low point is like Del's high point. Like, hey, I get to spend some quality time with someone.
Yeah.
And Neal is like, I have to spend time with this guy. You know?
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about. Oh, ding me again then.
You got it.
Let's talk about how we personally connect with Neal.
Oh, with Neal.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Steve Martin first.
I think it's real easy we talk about this dynamic a lot because our roles in our life that we play. And it's easy to get caught up in, this is my career, I'm a breadwinner, I'm a provider. And, you know, which character do you want to talk about throughout the seasons to support the fact that we find ourselves in that role a lot where, yeah, sometimes I'm not as available this way or that way. Sometimes, why? Because I have to work. Because I have to work. I have to do this. I have to provide, and I have to make sure we're warm and fed. Mm-hmm. And at the end of the day, I don't care if it's socially appropriate, politically correct. It falls on me. Sorry for my upbringing and raising. I got to make sure we eat and we're warm and we have a roof over our head. And I feel like I relate to Neal that way, and that, you know, we can say for a million reasons why he's flawed, or why he's flawed and why he's not an ideal character. But hats off to him for sometimes, you know, sometimes you gotta grind.
Yeah, it's tough because seeing a character like this, you do connect with, for us personally, you know, working fathers and, you know, such. But it reminds me, you know, I can't use that as an excuse, because you see how poorly Neal treats Del at times, and you think, come on, like you could be a little bit warmer than that. I know you're trying to get home and you're frustrated that you got to take the long way home, but you can be nice to everybody, you know. And so it was it got tough at times to see, especially when he blew up through all the F-bombs at that the woman behind the counter on Thanksgiving Eve.
Well, he was so selfish. That's what got me so mad, how selfish he was.
And so, like, you know, to me, from, you know, what I'm taking away from it is, okay, I cannot use that as an excuse, a crutch to be, well, you know, come in the door, come home angry or upset, or, you know, however it's going to be. I got to make sure that I check that throughout the day.
Absolutely.
Say, I can't bring that home. I can't bring that on the ride home. I can't bring that to other people that are just minding their own business. And I have to know that other people are probably going through the same thing. And I can't just, you know, be a berserker of malice in public.
Well, it seems so easy to see that for us. Mm. And I praise God for that, and I credit him for that, because there's so much in this world of folks that tell you that that's how you should be. Not the way you're saying it, but just the way that Neal is. Mm-hmm. You put in your hard day. Time to kick back and have a cold one.
You earned to get home on time.
And I always feel like that is such a selfish, self-indulgent emotion, because that can lead to a lot of... and again, I want to get preachy. I don't want a lot of sin, but it can lead to a lot of places of self-indulgence, of saying, I deserve this. I worked hard. I do this. I work hard. I deserve this. Or I work hard, and now I don't perceive you as working as hard as me, so I can say nasty things about you. Mm-hmm. Or even maybe even someone on assistance or whatever. Well, I work hard, and you don't get to do this because you're going to sit home and you're going to take all my money. You're going to take my tax dollars.
Well, that was even when he blew up at that lady. Like, okay, she's on the phone with probably a loved one on Thanksgiving Eve. Yeah. Just like you've been calling home, you know, she's got to work on Christmas Eve or Thanksgiving Eve, and you would have been off, you know.
And she took all of, I think it felt like, I remember watching it the first few times, and I thought, she's on there forever. Of course she's going to get mad. It was probably 13 seconds.
Right.
She's on a personal call for 13 seconds. That's not on. But you think about how many people are right now who are nasty, who would. I mean, I think it's almost the norm for people to blow up at someone, to be, look at rolling their eyes. This one's taking a personal call. Mm. Yeah, remember when those mattered?
Right.
Remember when a conversation mattered?
Right.
And when we were polite to each other, when we could say, even make a joke. It sounds like things are going pretty good at home,
But like you were saying though, like you're not working as hard as me. You're not.
Yeah.
You're not in my shoes.
Well,
like
he's
I
just
need to get what I need to do done.
So awfully self. The only thing worse than someone that's selfish is someone who thinks they're justified being selfish. To me, it's like, yeah, it's something to be selfish to have a bad day or whatever. They do something that's selfish, but someone who repeatedly thinks that they deserve to be the way they are when they're being nasty that way. And he just instance after instance of him being, that's my cab. Yeah, your cab? This is how nasty he was to the flight attendant. They were trying to make it right. They said, well, keep this. And then, you'll get your reward or whatever. I don't want that. I want the rest. That is the entitlement that pervades society now. And I know this movie was made decades ago, but we see more of that. It was probably more entertainment value and stuck out more, that character. Look at what an awful person he is. That's the norm now. It seems to me. That is how people expect.
Right.
I need
isn't everything as
satisfaction.
convenient as it could be for me?
Yeah. I mean, look at the trips and things that we've taken. Not everything's perfect. Things don't work out perfectly. You roll with it.
Right.
And then you expect everybody else to. I think one thing that gets me a little irked is sometimes when I don't see people roll with it. I just almost get like, man, you almost see me roll my eyes, because I'm like, oh.
Well, it's, you see in the beginning too, like you have a meeting an hour before your flight leaves. Like, whose choice was that?
That's right.
So as much as I would like to think I connect with Del, who knows? Maybe I connect with Neal just as much. If I'm being honest, if I'm being honest with myself.
Well, that's the same. Yeah.
I mean, not so much right now, I'd say, but in previous years, there were times when you go through the motions of daily life and work and you shut out everyone else until you made it home. You run the rat race just so you can get home to spend time with your family. No one else seemed to matter. And just as Neal learns, and I hope us as an audience can admit that every single personal interaction you have with anybody, obnoxious or not, or as superfluous as you think it might be, can have an effect on their lives.
Yeah.
Like Neal, I feel home is where the heart is, and family is that home. However, we have to be able to interact in our communities with friendliness, compassion, and a little bit of grace. Even less proudly,
Oh, no.
I'll admit there are times when you bottle things up until the most mundane or honest mistake happens to set you off, and I don't go on a tirade of expletives like you saw with Neal, but it's the feeling is the same. Mm-hmm. So Neal goes off and off and off on this poor lady with everything. And with everything that happened in their journey, I'm just like, yep, I feel you, buddy. I'm reminded, it reminds me of, you've seen In Bruges?
Yeah. Yep.
Ray Fiennes' character, he's just at home with his wife.
Man, he's so good.
And something, I can't remember what happened, but his wife is like, it's an inanimate object. He's like, you're an effing inanimate object. He's like, I didn't mean that. So that's what that reminded me of, though. Is like just the littlest thing sets you off, and you can't be on that edge.
Oh my goodness! I forgot he said effing.
To me, his Neal's character conveys that we can have a passive but profound impact on the people around us. Anything else with Neal?
Well, you see, I think the word that comes back all the time with him is just his selfishness. But you see, just as important, like in any literature, or good plot, you ask a student, name one character who went through a change from the beginning to the end of the story. And what was the catalyst that caused that change? Did it change him for the better or for the worse? And I've used that little formula since we watched it the other day through today. And I just thought to myself, what a beautiful example here, and what a beautiful lesson, a profound lesson that people can learn from film and characters like this. Look at how damaging his selfishness and his selfishness was through the first part of the film. Look at
to everybody.
To everybody, and even like the strangers, to people that were close to him, to someone who he just met, who had established some bonds with, right? He was just I like when you use the term berserker of hurt. Mm-hmm. He was just like just giving that out, and then look at what a blessing he was to someone hurting so bad. And a blessing doesn't have to be a religious word, right? For some people who might cringe at that,
right?
A blessing to me is you're lifting someone else up, you're pulling them up. Sometimes at no benefit to you, you're being a blessing to them. You're encouraging them. You're lifting them up. You're making their way a little. You're making their burden a little bit lighter. Mm-hmm. You're being a blessing to them.
I feel the same way about the word grace, by the way.
Yeah. And it just really makes all the difference in the world. I mean, I don't want to get to my theme, even though we're taking it quick. The theme thing, just the blessing you can be, just by the key we had at when me and Jeeves started our barbershops. He's very good at like these leadership things and being a chief executive officer. He's good at being corporate and all those things. He's excellent, maybe the best I've seen at it. And then you boil something down like a mission statement. You boil like here's our goals. Here's our workplace constitution. This is our vision statement. This is who we are. And then we came down to two things, and I don't even know what needs a bleep, but give a good haircut and don't be a dick. Mm-hmm. That was our two things that we operated by. Everybody that walks in that door, we're going to give them a great haircut, and we're not going to be a dick to them.
I'm glad that you didn't mix up those words ever. We're going to give them a... and we'll have a good haircut.
Who's to say we didn't? Well, maybe that's why we were so successful.
Hold on. Business idea. Jot this down real quick.
What a difference you can make. I mean, it became such a wonderful business model that, the other 4 locations adopted it too. At the end of the day, we got all these wonderful things that we wanted to accomplish in business plans. But as long as every single staff member in that building is committed to giving a good haircut to everybody that walks in the door and making sure, and don't be a dick means a lot of things. Don't be rude. Don't be mean. Make them feel welcome. Don't be arrogant. Don't give off this air of exclusivity that makes anybody in that shop feel like they're left out.
Right.
Bring everybody into the conversation. Very basic things. And why do those work? They work because human beings need that. We crave it. We crave belonging and kindness and warmth. And I don't want to say just men, but we don't get it in a lot of places. That belonging, that warmness, that kindness. I don't know if Tuesdays with Maury would agree with me. That the society's not built that way right now. Mm-hmm. It's built for show me. It's just bravado. Show me you can do this. Oh, you're just being soft, or Yes, I hope you're being soft. I hope you're being a little bit soft. I hope you're being a little compassionate, a little kind. I hope you're extolling grace whenever you can. I hope you're walking humbly, doing justly, and loving mercy with people, everybody you come in contact with. Yes, please do. Be a little soft. Oh, you're raising your kid to be soft. You're doggone right I am. In those ways, yeah. In those ways, you bet I am. I want him to have a heart that serves others and the heart that's mindful of the hurting and people that are going. Above all, yes. Other things, importantly, yes, also. Love his neighbors and serve others and be kind and be courteous. And yes, I'm so glad that was the value of my parents. They failed in a lot of ways. When they, not their fault, but they tried to raise me to do something. And I've had to find my own way in a lot of ways. And it wasn't even their failure really, but it's like the things they tried to get me to do. But the one thing that always comes through, and I hope that everybody that knows me feels this way, that I have a heart for people, man. I care about people a lot.
Well, speaking of that, let's just ding it and get right into how we personally feel with, how we personally connect with Del.
Talk about Del.
Continue.
Yeah, man. It's easy that way. Yeah, the scene when he says, "I could be mean too," I could be cynical. And
Yeah,
I've said that long before COVID turned us into a super cynical crowd and sarcastic crowd. I said it in my adult life. It's just too easy to be cynical and sarcastic about things, and I am. Very often. But it is just too easy to just let that be your normal, your true north. Let that be your governing function, and the rest is just sometimes used nice. It's too easy to do that. You'd be critical and cut down anyone. And when Del says that, you can tell he means it. You can tell this is who I am. And remember when he says, he goes, my wife loves me for me. I like me. I like me.
My wife likes me.
And there's a lot of power in that for him to keep going. There's a lot of power to say, I like me. I'm not sure he always, you can see in his weaker times that he was struggling believing that himself, that he was lovable in some ways. There was sometimes that he would.
I think the dinner scene encapsulates that.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Like, we've made it so far, and that's not enough for you.
Right. Oh gosh, that's a hard one to watch. Before I knew what was happening and after. But we relate to Del. He's a big fella. I'm a big fella. He has a good sense of humor, I think. He's very outgoing. You can tell he's trying to. I know he's in some level psychologically there's a facade there of joy and just jovialness there.
Yeah.
I have to acknowledge that in my head, someone that's hurting, that's going through that kind of trauma, that loss, that at some point is a little bit of a facade there. And there's a little bit of crying on the inside clown there. But he's genuinely trying to be positive and be friendly with Neal, certainly, when he just meets him. And
pretty much everyone, though.
Yeah, he's kind of being silly.
In contact with.
And even with the guy, like the guys that he knows at the desk, the bellhop guys, he's like talks to him smiling and laughing. And it's probably why he's so good at selling things. Plus, such a good salesman.
Right. Well, you have to get people to be a good salesman.
Right, that's true. Yeah, I relate to him in a lot of ways like that. I like to think that I do.
Why don't you tell me about the chest?
Gosh. Well, I mean, he has this chest where in it, I think that the only thing we see from in it is this picture of his wife. So what's precious is in that chest. So I take it as everything that he holds precious left in his world is in that chest.
Well, it's covered with like places he's been or whatever they are.
Yeah,
it's a very personal chest.
It is.
And the idea of it being a chest and not another piece of luggage.
Yeah, it stands out, and it has two handles. It has two handles, and it doesn't look easily carried by one person.
It needs two people.
It does need two. It does not have the wheels that the today's have. It looked like it'd be a lot easier to carry if it did have wheels, obviously. But it doesn't. And the biggest evidence I saw of the chest that was labor when the train broke down. They're going through the plowed freaking field. And he's carrying it because, Neal wants to go his own way. And so Del's trying to carry it. And it's just boom, 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 getting caught in ruts. And he's just laboring to carry. And he's not the most in shape guy. And he's got other bags too to carry. It's cold. And then Neal goes over there, and the precious thing, and he'd be damned if he's going to leave it though somewhere. It would definitely take a lot of weight off of him, and he'd be able to travel better. But that's a part of him.
I mean, metaphorically speaking, it's a big burden, but he needs that chest though. You see him in the taxi; it barely fits in the trunk and the car that they drive, and
it's kind of bungeed to the.
Yeah, he's got to drag everywhere when he does go by himself. like we said, it's everything that's precious to him, and he will never be without that chest.
No, no, and we'll talk more a little bit later about the chest and like just the transaction that happens with Neal, and how it's not all right. Let's carry this thing, and we're both going to struggle carrying it now. You know, that chest is going to change. That's going to be the film evidence of the change in transaction that's happened with Neal a little bit later. You know, and I think that's beautiful. Yeah, I feel like Del's relatable in a lot of ways. He sadly sometimes you get the time when someone's like he's a bit much. I think we can admit that sometimes he was a bit much.
Yeah.
Like especially if you're having a tough day and someone's like that, you're like there was times when I was relating to Neal saying I just want to be left alone right now, man. You know, and
I wanted to add with Neal, he's not a bad guy.
No, I don't think so.
He's a family man who's under a lot of duress during this time because there are several times where he sees Del struggling to carry this case and he's okay. You know,
Yeah.
Comes along, he helps him carry it.
Mm-hmm. And he hasn't been redeemed at this point yet.
Right.
You know,
and like you can tell he has the ability to reflect a little bit. When they shared the hotel room, you know, after the "I'm an easy target" speech, he's kind of like, okay, yeah, maybe I was a little harsh there. And
you can tell him
goes back to bed
as he's ready to leave. He's like, what am I doing? You know. Yeah. There's one more thing I wanted to say about. Let's see if it comes back.
I interrupted you.
Well, I'm thinking about Del with. It'll come back. It'll come back at some point.
Okay. So, how I personally connect with Del, I think about that deleted scene, and I'm like, somewhere, sometime, there was someone also writing down grotesque while watching me eat some fast food or something, and flicking crumbs off my chest.
You and me both, man.
I also feel it, though, when Del is just trying to be a bright spot in the world. You know, there's so much people doing their own thing that he's just trying to, you know, whenever he's talking with someone, he gives them his attention and tries to actually converse. And it just seems futile sometimes, you know. Your intention is to be kind and assist. You know, you have some integrity, but the people around you and even the people you are helping can't help but be sour about it. I'd like to think I am being that kind to my fellow man, but who knows? To quote Drax from Guardians of the Galaxy, I too am extraordinarily humble. But who knows? Maybe I'm more like Neal. I know the other feelings that hit close to home are when he tries to reach out to people, reaching out to friends, trying to find social support in tough times, but really struggling because of interests, work, schedules, or whatever it might be. There's also like the idea of his friendliness maybe being taken for granted, warmth not valued, hurt inside, fine outside. It's funny. I know there's a lot of discourse on Neal's journey as a person, and Del kind of being like this guide, like this moral guide for Neal to straighten himself out. Not unlike, you know, Scrooge and.
Yeah, I felt that way, like a mirror character, like a foil almost, like a reflection, so you can see more about this guy's journey.
Well, yeah, it felt like, the discourse I see is Del kind of being like, I guess like the Jacob Marley.
I see.
You know, kind of like, I'm here to test you, because if you don't change your ways, like I'm going to take you right to hell with me. You know?
Yeah.
But to me, I find myself focusing more on Del's journey with his emotional state than I do with Neal. And maybe it's because I feel like I value my family so much that, you know, maybe I don't get too much out of Neal's character in that way. But Del's character, I get a lot out of, you know, seeing how hurt he actually is at the end, and realizing throughout the movie that he he's just trying to improve. He's trying to find love and acceptance somewhere, you know.
For as long as he can.
Yeah. And he's trying all these different places. Wherever life's taking him, he's trying to find connections, you know. And he says it when he's sitting in the burnt car. He's like, "Oh, I finally meet someone that I genuinely enjoy spending time with, and I pushed him too far." You know, and so you could tell that he's had these thoughts for some time, trying to find any connection somewhere with someone that's worth his kindness, I guess. His character conveys that kindness and a certain vulnerability to strangers can also have a profound impact on your own mental health.
Wow. Sure can. I mean, that goes with everything with like service and giving and being altruistic, and goes perfect with Thanksgiving, by the way. You know, things you're thankful for. I wanted to jump back to something that I mentioned because I don't want to lose it. And it's just, I was so surprised that it came back.
Hold on to that grasp.
Yeah, thoughts don't usually come back for me. But the idea of Del as, you know what I mean? Like you usually have a foil character who shows their existence in film or in literature is to shine all the positive traits of the protagonist, right? Mm-hmm. And it's funny because I compare him to, in some ways, Gaston's buddy.
LeFou?
Yeah, because he's always singing the praises of Gaston, right? And he creates contrast, being dumpy and kind of silly and almost a little feminine compared to this masculine hunter,
Yeah.
I feel like he does that, but he, instead of showing his positives, he's a foil to show through the positive things that Del has. That just draws a nice contrast to the things that Neal is lacking. That some of the negative traits that he has, and the nastiness, and the selfishness, the impatience, the blowing up. You don't hear Del's character is probably someone that would say "squiddly poop" or something if he was mad, but to probably hear. Like if he heard that conversation at the counter, he would abhor the profanity. Mm-hmm. You know, it's just to say he's perfect, but I just thought the filmmaker did a cool job of like taking a foil instead of making him a foil or a reflection to see all the positives of a character. His character exists so you can see the contrast of what Neal's character is lacking.
I like that.
And the journey that he's got to make. He's making some progress. You can see
here's the standard of how you need to treat your fellow man.
And isn't that cool that it's almost a little bit, it's risky filmmaking because you have someone who's overweight. You have someone who's a little bit, you know what I mean?
Right.
Who's, he's the standard? And maybe that's the cleverness of Hughes in this one. Mm. I always want to see how they wrote it. And how it was acted and how it was actually produced, because I think the writing tells you a lot of where their heart was at, what they meant by it. Mm-hmm. That's why I always try to read screenplays if I can, and to just say, maybe this was played a little bit differently, or anyway.
Kmax, how does this movie relate to our discussion on grief earlier this season?
Well, I think it relates in a couple ways, right? Because grief can take on multiple forms, we've talked about. And we talk about people are at different stages of grief and how important it is to appropriately deal with grief. Del, obviously, having lost the love of his life. This is where the facade part comes in. That he's got the big smile and the positive and even like kind of almost like lying to himself. Like, my wife loves me. Not using the past tense. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And kind of leading Neal to believe that his wife's still alive and he's heading home to see her.
Right.
It tells you that there's a little bit of, he's not gone through all the stages. He's still in denial a little bit. And it relates to how we talked about grief, though, in that grief is very personal. And his grief is taking on a very unique look because he seems to have a very unique situation where the person that he considers home is no longer there. So the film does not give, I don't think, concrete evidence that there is a home.
And I think that was the point is driven home with that, though, is even if he did have a house, it's not a home. It's not somewhere that he considers his foundation.
Yeah, he was in no hurry to go there. I always felt like he was like homeless because like just lived on the road because
And yeah, very well could be
because he's like at that bus at the train station, just kind of sitting there with his chest. Like, yeah, that was I have a lot of questions about that. But as far as grief goes, you see the grief of it's almost like regret of Neal not being able to be there at Thanksgiving. So he's got like almost not the different kind of grief, but a different level of grief that like a selfish, I deserve to have, I should be here right now and I can't because the stupid storm, I'm in Wichita because of the incompetence here and because of this clown and because of...
That's what we're talking about, the personal part of it, because I know we discussed biggest grief you could probably experience is losing a loved one. But there's other grief that people that maybe they're not as attached to those same types of people have other things where they lose a job, they lose, they break up with someone, they lose a pet or something like that.
Yeah.
It's like, how do you compare these two things? Most of the times, people that are experiencing the grief of losing a loved one will look at the other one and say, "What are you so sad about?" But it. Like we said, it's personal, though.
That's absolutely right. The pain needs to be felt, and a divorce, a loss of a job. You know what I mean? Like moving, even a promotion. You're promoted as a supervisor. You don't have the same collegiality as you did with your colleagues. Now you're the boss. Now,
right?
What are you worried about? Now you got the bitterness and the lack of understanding and ignorance from people. Well, you're making $50,000 more a year. Yeah, but I lost all my friends. You know, my friend, my good friend, who's a principal, and he talks about when he was just a history teacher, how much fun he had, and he's been a principal for a long time, and he's like, yeah, it's still good, but I don't have what I got into teaching for in the first place for, So, and you can grieve that. You can have grief over things like that. And, I mean, I kind of went a long way to say grief is a very individual thing, and I don't know that he was handling it perfectly, because I don't know if there's a perfect way to handle grief.
Are you referring to Del or Neal?
Definitely for Del, but I don't know if he was handling it Psych 101 the best way, with his facade and kind of everything is okay, but he certainly wasn't being nasty about it,
right?
In his dealings with it.
I think he was looking for someone, like a connection that he could open up about it, though, because all he had was his wife, and there's no one else that he could say, "Hey, I'm really hurting right now."
Yeah.
There's no one else he could do that with. It was all acquaintances.
Sad. That's so sad.
And so, like, that's why I'm more invested in his story, because he just needs a friend. He just needs to be able to say these sad things to get them out there, And one of the things we talked about during our grief thing was the length of time. Like, when, with it being so personal, can we put a limit on, you're only allowed to grieve this long? Or where's the boundary between adversity and mental health? Where is that boundary? Is it 20 years long? Like, if you're grieving for that long, is that mental health now? So we see that a little bit here, because it was 8 years, I believe, right?
Yep.
So it's kind of like, all right, is this a deep, permanent wound that he has now, or is he still trudging through trying to complete his process of grieving? But we meet Del during this period of grieving, years later, still hurting from the loss of his wife. Of course, we don't realize this until late in the movie, but we see hints of it. The framed picture of his wife constantly on the road, a chest that seemingly has everything that he owns, and even the blatant hint when they're at at dinner, and he's like, "Oh, I haven't been home in years."
Yeah.
I was like, are we just going to gloss over that, Neal?
Yeah.
A lot of conflicting things here. That he said he's got his wife, but he hasn't been home in years. Surprised, but it's that my schedule, what I gotta do, what I gotta accomplish. That he's I say allow, but in a negative way, allows him to look past that call for help that Del just laid out there. But either way, it reminds us that we don't know what each other are going through, and that judgments shouldn't be made with first impressions. It's a reminder I know I probably need on a daily basis. In Del's case, we see him actually trying different coping techniques, at least from what I see. Maybe some of them are good, maybe some of them are not the best. Work, because it seems like 24/7 he's working. He's on the road, so he's always selling. Travel, you could see that. I mean, I don't remember where he said he first lived with his wife, but he's been on the road since then. And now he's trying out friendship. He's trying these different things to try and solve this grieving process of his. So when we watched Talk to Me, we saw a character in Mia that was desperate for connection, for warmth, and for the memory of her mom. Sound a little bit familiar here?
Yeah.
We see Mia turn to the wrong connection and try to relive the past and who she thought was her mother's spirit. So when I compare that to Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, I see Del seeking some sort of connection and warmth, but instead of following evil spirits, he is persistent with finding friendship and living in the here and now. We see him accepting that his home is not the same without his wife, an acceptance that we don't see Mia be ready for, because she tries to aimlessly follow wherever the spirits are leading her. So she doesn't know. I guess in the same sense, they don't know where home is at the moment, but obviously they're very different into where they get led to. I mentioned that Mia reaches for the wrong extended hand, a cold, lifeless, rigid statue, while Del searches for the hand of a friend, not just to help him get out of this pit of grief, but to help him carry that burden, that load that he's been dragging behind him this whole time. So that's how I...
Yeah. That chest comes into play so beautifully, and first dozen time I've watched it, I'm like, they're carrying the chest. It's a chest, and then you even see like
it's
on
all
the
chest.
Markups and promotions for that chest is in every one of them. If someone was doing like remember they used to have like a game where you do Pictionary or whatever, or you'd sketch something, you would include the chest if you're trying to do Planes, Trains, and Automobiles.
Right. It would be two guys carrying a chest.
Yeah. Right. There it is. Or a plane, train, and an automobile.
I love how older movies like that are filled with like tools for getting your point across, for your theming, that I don't know if it's just because of our age, but you think, oh, well, that's just a comedy. He's got a big obnoxious chest because he's a big obnoxious guy.
Yeah.
But as we're discussing it, like, oh, okay. And even the title and the transportation, like I'll get into in a little bit. Like, oh, that's actually a pretty well crafted story here. Do you got anything else on our relation to grief?
Well, I mean, you look at Neal a lot, and it's such a lot. It's funny because his grief is, to me, so much less valid. That's not nice to say about grief. But compared to what Del's dealing with, that's some serious loss compared to a little inconvenience. And look at how they're handling it. And that's a choice, how they're handling their grief. The choice is, I'm going to handle this with a little bit of dignity. I'm going to handle this with a little bit of respect, a little self-control. I'm going to feel it, but I'm going to handle it I'm going to choose to be positive about it. I'm going to choose to move forward with a little bit of hope, or I'm going to choose to be miserable and make everybody miserable around me. That's a big lesson about grief, I guess.
It's funny how prevalent this idea of a berserker of pain has come into play. Because we had Mia from Talk to Me, we had Danny from Midsummer, and now we have Neal from Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, where it's just, whoever they come in contact with gets hurt somehow, emotionally, physically, however it may be.
I think that's all I have for that one. That's all I have to say about that.
What makes this movie so heartwarming? I should ask first, did you find it heartwarming?
I did.
Okay.
I did. I mean, anytime you see a redemption of somebody, for me, you know me, I'm a big Christmas Carol fan. Ebenezer Scrooge, one of my favorite scenes where he's, whenever someone's redeemed, someone's found to see the light, or they're changed for the good from some event or from a process. I love that. And it made me feel good. It's a heartwarming movie because at its core, it's a buddy road trip movie, and then those always feel good, right? There's silliness, and there's camaraderie, there's companionship, even amidst their deeper struggles with each other and with their circumstances. There's some really funny scenes that make me feel like they're growing together. There's some they care about one another, and then to see them carrying that chest together at the end down the road, and it's not even heavy anymore. It's almost like it's connecting them. It's their shared experience. It's all wrapped up with a nice bow. That feels good to me. That's heartwarming. That is the definition of heartwarming, when they bring him in the house and he's like, I want you to meet my friend. I wasn't looking at anybody else's faces but Del's when he said that.
Right.
When you meet my friend, it's like, I almost cry thinking about it. It's a wonderful, beautiful scene, because it's like, I think everybody maybe feels that way at some point, or maybe I'm just too darn sensitive, but like, when you get called that from somebody, it's not a throwaway line.
Well, you can see the difference here, because Del introduces Neal as his, this is my old friend Neal here.
That's
Neal
right.
Page. When I think it was when they're getting the hotel
That's
towards
right.
the beginning.
That's right.
And it was just kind of a brush off thing, and Neal's kind of like, okay, well, what do I got to do to get this room? And then you see at the end the different take, or the different way that someone reacts to that statement. Oh, here's my friend Del. And like you said, the acceptance, the warmth that you see Del feel from that.
I mean, that's it. Like being ready to, I don't know if it's a native thing, but you hear the term, in accepting the gift, you honor the giver. So when you're able to accept love, it blesses the person who's giving the love. And Neal's character went through a journey and came to an end and is ready to say, this is my friend. But that doesn't work if Del's character's not ready and prepared and willing to accept that. But he is so willing and ready to accept that. That's what makes that scene so beautiful in a lot of different dynamic ways, because we see him accept that I am here.
It feels like I've made it. I found a new home base.
And how beautiful that Hughes writes even the little not throwaway lines, the lines from the peripheral characters there. Oh, welcome, or little things that show you that it's not just this one person who's going to accept them. It's going to be an awkward Thanksgiving. The whole room already accepts them right then and there.
Greet him at the door.
It's a beautiful scene that I don't know if the Green Book stole from.
Probably.
My favorite scene in that movie has to do with Dr. Shirley getting invited to Tony Lip's house, and all of them pretty much looking at him when he opens the door, this black fella. And then when they know him and they talk to him a little bit, they're like, come on in and eat. Fix yourself a plate. Feels like a res line. Come and fix yourself a plate.
Yeah.
And you're in. You're in for the duration. You're in for life. And it just feels nice. It feels nice. So, that's the definition of heartwarming to me.
Oh, yeah. I have concepts and thoughts that I can blurt out that contribute to why I find this movie warm and fuzzy, but I want to make sure on a scale, let's say 1 to 10. 1's cold-hearted, 10 is the most warm and fuzzy you can get from watching a movie. Where were you on this?
Say that one more time.
So on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the most warm and fuzzy, 1 being cold and hard.
Okay, so because there's so much, because I have so many feelings that aren't all warm and fuzzy. There's I was a little bit cringy at some of Neal's behavior.
Mm-hmm.
I was put off a little bit by some of it, like, boy, this is uncomfortable. And I was, even if I'm going to be honest, there's some things that were annoying me about Del's character.
Yeah.
There's some things that are very annoying to me.
Dogs were barking.
Yeah. Wait, yeah, gosh. And even like
Del, I'm pretty sure you know that's not right to take your socks and shoes off on the plane.
Yes. And then also like his he left the beer on the magic fingers bed, and it shook up, and he's like, he's making him sleep in
the bathroom too.
In all the towels, using every towel like that. I mean, that drives me crazy. By the way, I'm tipping my hand here, I'm being such a weirdo, but like every towel being used on the floor it's like he's got a little hand towel to dry off on. Like you couldn't think and be considerate here at all about your, your buddy here, your good friend, your old friend. So there were some things that were a little inconsistent with. They were consistent with him being kind of a lovable nitwit, an affable nitwit. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But there were things that were a little inconsistent with seeing him as the inconvenient straight, to the crooked Neal. He was I call it the Jiminy Cricket. He was the true north. He was the reflection. He was the measuring stick. But there were some things about him that were annoying too, that make it probably closer to a 7 or an 8 as far as heartwarming for me.
I think I had 7 in there. So what you're saying then is our hearts didn't grow 3 sizes, but maybe 2 sizes.
I'd say 2 and some change. I'd say a heavy 2 instead of
the jokes.
Yeah, heavy 2. Yeah, nickname again in college again. Oh, it's 2, all right, but it's a heavy 2.
So I'll just list the parts that do tug on the heartstrings there. They're probably going to be a lot of what you've said here, but acceptance and human interaction prevail. Neal finally gets back to his family. Del finds meaningful friendship, that sense of belonging, helping one another. Gained perspective. I don't know if you know, I'm a big fan of that. The whole season 1 of our podcast was dedicated to that. Right. To me, that's always one thing that warms the heart. People gaining some perspective on someone or a group of people, learning about them, seeing things from their point of view.
Oh, I see them so differently now. Yeah,
and then treating that perspective with a little bit of grace. You don't have to agree with everything that from that perspective. But you can at least say, okay, that's how they see it. I
think I like movies that do that too, a lot. And people.
And then the other thing is, this movie doesn't have many stunts or special effects or unique visual aesthetic or groundbreaking type of story. It has great comedic actors that portray their characters with heart and authenticity. And is a very human story.
It sure is.
So I think that helps connect it quite a bit, and I think that's what makes a lot of Christmas movies heartwarming too. Is that it's based in human interaction, human connection, human emotion, rather than aesthetics.
I love that explanation, and I just love Christmas movies, Christmas stories. It's funny how you're able to put a little bit of a clinical rationale for why I like the way I feel when I'm watching them. So they give you that feeling, right? They give you that, you get that payoff. It makes you feel hopeful that people can change,
Well, in Christmas Carol, Scrooge's whole journey is seeing things from a different perspective, seeing how he treats, what's his face? Cratchit. Yeah. As I guess, no, I know it's not Crunch. I know it's not Crumpet.
He treats Crumpet pretty darn awful.
Bob Cratchit. There it is. But he's seeing how that side of people lives. You know, he's seeing that. He sees Cratchit go home to his family and the struggles that their family has. And then he sees in the future how other people view him. So it's gaining perspective of the people around him. Mm-hmm. And that's if I'm trying to pin down what makes that movie so timeless, I think that's one of them.
That's it. The transaction is made, and what were the vehicles that made it happen? It was him learning about himself. Mm-hmm. There was really nothing that comes down to it. Magical things had to happen to get him to see it. But really all he was able to do was actually, this is how I'm perceived. Mm. This is how important I am. This is how important it is for me not to be how I am right now, how I'm choosing to be right now. Mm-hmm. That is hopeful.
And so speaking of that, because I do think perspective plays a role in this isolation conversation. Pineapple. Apparently, if you say pineapple, it stunts your sneeze.
Pineapple, then. Pineapple all day.
Well, then, let's talk about our theme.
Pineapple.
Do you want to go with your theme first, or do you want me to go?
Mine's pretty simple. Be nice. You never know what battles people are fighting. I thought of a dozen themes. Mm-hmm. Be nice. You don't know what someone's going through. Man, that is so important. It's just so important, and it's a theme and it's a lesson of this movie. I think of how that whole journey could have been different if Neal could have just had that valuable lesson. Just saying, I'm gonna give some grace here. I'm gonna be nice, mm-hmm. and I'm gonna treat this person like we all should treat everybody, like a person, like a worthy human being, instead of like some subhuman miscreant, with flaws that I can't possibly acknowledge. He's a slob. He's heavier. He's too outgoing. He's annoying.
I was gonna throw your Willem Dafoe reference in there.
He loves art. There's a lot of things.
There's a lot of things.
It's just so good. I like how it's mine, by the way. Yes, I do love saying it.
I know. As soon as I start to describe someone, I'm like, how can I word this different so he doesn't chime in with that reference?
Is it really?
I'm like, this affected him so much, and not like he's oh no, he's got me.
It's just so rough. It's just so rough. Because I don't subscribe to saying things like that.
And now it's yours.
But because it's Willem Dafoe saying it, I feel like somehow it's justified. He's anyway, gosh help me.
The funny thing is too, I heard that reference so many times from you, and I didn't I'm like, I don't know what it's from. It's from something. Really? And then I finally saw it on social media. I'm like, it's not his personal thoughts. He's referencing Willem Dafoe.
I'm so happy. My stomach hurts so bad. Well, I've got to do abs tomorrow, so I got that going for me.
I remember the first time you used it, I'm like, wow, okay. Tell us how you really feel.
I tell you. He loves music. He's just so great. It's so great. I don't even know what we're talking about.
Our theme. I guess I'll go up.
Yeah, please do.
So it's funny that you mentioned you kept it simple, because I also had varying degrees of theming for this. But if I wanted to keep it simple, I'd say the value of human interaction. If I wanted to go a little further, I'd say the value of human connection over personal convenience.
Oh, my.
And if I wanted to go even further, I'd say using patience and empathy to value human connection over personal convenience.
Okay.
I don't know. Use the best one.
I think I like the last one. Expand a little bit on that for me, would you? Would you?
I think I shall. The movie used the different forms of transportation to mirror the flexibility and patience needed to really understand the value of personal connection with people. So planes are first, the quickest, the most adherent to schedule, the most associated with facing the inconveniences of other people in your space. Mm-hmm. We see that with Del taking off his shoes and
Neal's just insistence on, I paid for my space. I want my space.
Right. So everyone with different goals and different destinations packed into a sardine can. Trains, a little less quick, but a little bit more flexible. They're able to get to the station, just get a ticket. A bit more associated with pleasant and relaxed interpersonal connections. Mm-hmm. You can have little conversations with people during it.
Coffee with go to the food cart, have a cup of coffee with someone.
And then we have automobiles. Intimate, long periods of time, and you had different forms of it. You had a bus, you had a car. So bus, they're all singing together. They're talking with people. They're watching other people make out.
That's right.
And in the car, it's only one or two other people in there. So it's focused interpersonal interactions. And the speed of life is slowed down so that our characters have time and space to allow the important things in life to sink in. That conversation, that getting to know each other. So you compare the last one that we see with the first one that we see, and what a difference of the planes, people just packed in there like, okay, I just have to tolerate you until I get to my destination as fast as I can.
Yeah.
Whereas the car burnt to a crisp, and there's...
You think this car is safe for travel, sir?
Yep, I do. I really do.
She's not much to look at.
But
she'll get you where you need to go, though.
The amount of experiences the two of them had in that car compared to the experiences you could have on that plane, and how much they got to know each other and really connect with one another. So, speaking on their family situations, yes, Neal has family, and that should be his priority, especially at holiday time. However, just because someone doesn't have family doesn't mean they have to go without meaningful interpersonal connections. It's be there for your fellow neighbor. Don't let unwanted isolation happen to those that are grasping for a sense of belonging. In the same way, I compare these two characters. Del reaching for a friendly hand to grasp him back so that he can help pull himself up. And Mia reaching for that cold, hard statue of a hand, and it's not connected to anything.
No.
And it leads her on a path of...
destruction, just...
Yeah, of decimation of herself and the people around her.
I think that's an important one, is the people around her, too.
Mm-hmm. So to quote... I had the movie on before you got in, but to quote Frank Shirley, Clark Griswold's boss... It's people that make the difference. Little people, like you.
What do they call him? Greaseball?
Put it there with the others, Greaseball.
Oh, my gosh. Christmas movies, man.
I don't think we've seen the last of them.
Oh, I'll tell you what, man. Planes, trains, and automobiles. This is it's a breath of fresh air. Just to, it was fun talking about a classic for a lot of people. Mm-hmm. A classic for me. I know there's people that even hold it in higher esteem than I do. I like it. I watch it, like I said, a dozen times. But there's people who like watch it like I watch It's a Wonderful Life every Christmas, or watch it like I watch a Christmas Carol. They hold it in that high regard. I don't quite see that, but I like it a lot. It is heartwarming. I think when I first started watching it earlier on, I would get more annoyed by Del than I do now.
Yeah.
Maybe it's because I see more of him in me,
Right.
But I think it's also a little bit because I can perceive his character a little bit more of he's trying. Man. Here, my rose-colored glasses are in all things, are tinted with the idea that I believe people are trying. When I look at life that way, and I look at people that way, and I look at relationships that way, it gives me a lot more kindness and patience and grace with people, because I'm like, they're trying the best way they know how. Instead of saying, oh, look at this. Oh, this is inferior. Or, oh, look at this. This is, someone's trying out to get me. If I just look at, they're trying their best, man, that gives me a lot of, I can come alongside them then, instead of being threatened by them or being annoyed by them. I can.
Well, especially with Del, I mean, with him losing his wife, he could have been just cynical and mean and cut off from the world, but instead he's doing the exact opposite. And he's only out in the world trying to connect with people.
I wish people would see that that's an option when they're hurting or when they're angry. I wish people would see that and apply that lesson as an option. That I can handle this a couple of ways here, and it's, of course it's okay to be angry sometimes. Everybody is, right? But it's like very often, you'll see people, and God save me from the day that people see me coming in like, oh, here we go. It's gonna be nasty. He's gonna be complaining about something. I'm sure I have my moments, right? But it tends to be a choice, and sometimes life can be hard. And then again, have grace for those people too. But man, have enough grace for the person that might be smiling through a lot of hurt, especially this time of year.
Yeah.
Right.
So this idea of perspective, I'm going to be talking about it next episode for sure, and continuing in our upswing here. So we started in a pit of grief, and we watched a handful of movies that dealt with that, and we're starting to come up here because we have isolation, and isolation could have been good, could have been bad. What do you need? And we've seen Del say, "I will not go into that." Well, I can't remember the rest of that quote.
Dark night.
Will
not go quietly into that dark night.
Yep. So he chooses, right, to not isolate. He says, I will not do it. I am going to make friends. I'm going to find someone that can support me. And so we're starting to kind of go on upswing here.
Ramp it up a little. Thank goodness. Here we go.
So, do you remember what our next topic is going to be?
Probably nuclear war. So we got grief, isolation. Yep, that comes next.
Well, you said the magic word earlier in the podcast. I wasn't sure if you were trying to be your usual master of the segue.
Oh man, I don't think I was.
Belonging.
Hey.
So remember, this is all curated, and it's important to know why I wanted to make sure we recorded certain things at certain times, because this time of year, holiday time, what gives us the biggest sense of warmth and all that, I would say could be belonging. I don't know.
Yeah.
But we'll get into it a little bit more next episode.
It's wonderful.
Yeah.
Happy Thanksgiving, everybody.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Thankful for you, Voz. Thankful
Likewise.
for this Sprite cranberry. So you're right on a level playing field with this Sprite here. Just so you don't get out of control.
I'll give you about a 7.5. Room for improvement.
I want you to get lazy.
Kmax, any other thoughts on isolation before we move on to the next chapter?
Gosh, I mean, take care of each other, right? Take care of each other. It's again holidays. There's people that are shut in. There's people who have lost loved ones. There's people who are a widow or a widower for the first time this year. The first time that they'll have that empty seat at that table. It's important to be with each other at funerals and times of hurt, but it's maybe even more important to be with each other during these key events here. And, someone who's shut in or is alone, the forced isolation or the involuntary isolation has to be, it's hard. And remember how we felt during COVID, that those of us who are people, how hard that is and how real the hurt can be and how clinical symptoms can show up from that isolation. So, if you can stop by your neighbors or make a phone call or send a text or, God forbid, go have a cup of coffee and conversation with somebody over the long weekend or over the holidays, do it. It's not, if you can, do it. Step out of your comfort zone a little bit. If you can do that, do that. That's my final thought on it. Apply the lessons, right? We're not sitting here preaching at you. We're not tell you this is the right way or the only way. But if there's conversations that move the needle to the good, then I think that justifies why I'm doing this. And so go do that. If I got a chance to get on a microphone and tell people, there's enough people being cynical and sarcastic out there. That's full. There's enough podcasts encouraging that and brewing those fires up. That's full. But there's vacancy in the need for encouraging people. There's vacancy to help people not feel so isolated and people grieve alone. There's vacancy. There's plenty of openings here. Come on in. The water's fine. Jump on board and move the needle to the good, because it's people that do that. Right? It's people that do that. It's not
little people.
Little people like you, Voss, and like me.
I haven't been called little in ages, Kmax. Thank you.